Hi there, fellow travelers. Marcel again, and thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoy this video and all my other videos. If you've got suggestions, please put the comments down below, and I'll try to make more videos on what you're looking for when you travel. And so today we're going to talk a little bit more about the coronavirus. Actually, no, wait, we're not. It's not called the coronavirus anymore. It's now called the COVID virus, COVID-19 virus, which sounds a lot more scientific, a lot more serious, which it is. All joking aside, the situation over there is looking worse and worse. So we've seen some of the news coming out of China. Basically, they've declared martial law in China. We have the military coming into a lot of the cities there. Of course, those cities are locked down and have a lot of military presence there. We're seeing all sorts of problems with as far as overcapacity with the hospitals, detention centers. There's also YouTube videos out there now talking about the cremations and the mass fatalities. And so that's all very sad. We see people going in there, first responders that don't have a good necessarily a lot of good safety equipment. So that's very sad and very alarming for us to see. There's also some news out there about the Chinese government asking the industry to start manufacturing body bags. There was different numbers floating around out there. One was 100,000, and then I also saw a video talking about 1 million of those. Either number is bad, right? So that's disturbing news. The other bit of disturbing news that we see is the Chinese government now, because of the declaration of martial law, they don't call it that, but in North America we would. They've done that, and I think that's probably the right course to do. Of course, there's good and bad around that, right? So anytime you declare martial law, you're going to be basically living in a state of wartime, right? Yeah, and they're not at war with any other country. It's the opposite of that, really, but they are at war with this virus, and they need to do whatever they can to prevent further casualties there. So, they've done that. The government now can seize private property. So if you have any assets, say a car, a boat, a building, they can and will take that. And some of the videos said they will try to pay you back later and things like that. But it's really about survival there now, and really doing whatever they can for those communities. And so, but it's quite disturbing news, right? Because they've got to that point. I think a lot of people that are alive there today have never seen that state before. And so unless you've survived a war, you haven't really seen a country respond that way. So I would think that if you're there, that's very alarming. So as travelers, we're not in a rush to go to those locations. I think we're avoiding a lot of the cities there now that are becoming impacted. Most of that is still in China, although we're seeing countries like Singapore with increased infection rates, which is alarming. We're keeping a close eye on that, especially the fatalities. There's a lot of interesting things going on that as travelers we're taking note of. One, of course, is, okay, where is this happening? What does it look like? So the Johns Hopkins map, which I have right up over there on my monitor, I always watch that. Today we're at over 60,000 infections and 1,300 total deaths. And so I'm watching that as a traveler, looking to see if any of my destinations are showing up there. And if they are, then that's going to be a concern. And I probably would just cancel my trip to that location. I already have canceled a lot of my trips throughout the world this year, just due to what I predict is going to happen. So I would predict this is going to get worse before it gets better, and it's definitely going to impact some of the cities that I had planned to travel to. And so that's very sad. Well, sad for me, but sad for those people in those cities as well. So as we see this get a little bit worse, we're looking at the virus. They've renamed it, but we've also got some new information, right? So that's very interesting. The incubation period, there's been a lot of debate on that, and I still don't have a good answer for you on the length of time that it can incubate within a host with no symptoms. So there was some discussion on the internet about, well, it can last several weeks, up to 4 weeks, and that's very alarming. What they're saying now is that it's probably not that long. It's probably about 2 weeks But the cases that we saw where we thought they were 4 weeks, that was probably a miscount on when we assume that person was infected. So for example, if we said, oh, we think it takes 4 weeks based on this example of this person that got sick, well, they probably got infected instead of the 4 weeks ago, only 2 weeks ago. But we assume it was 4 weeks ago. That's basically what they're saying. So so that long runway is not exactly necessarily true. So I think the jury's still out on that, and we will wait and see. But it definitely still is a long time, right? We think that you could show symptoms within a couple days, but not necessarily until, maybe even up to 2 weeks. So that is that in itself, even if it's not 4 weeks, 2 weeks is a long time and very alarming. So the other bit of news that has really come out, and I think that this is more confirmed information, is that, of course, this virus is now airborne. And what that means is I don't necessarily have to touch something that you touched as a host to get infected. It can simply be in the air. And this can linger quite a while, and it can move actually much further than we anticipated. And so I think in one of my earlier videos, I said, oh, don't worry. If you're in an airport, it's not going to float through the air and then stick in your eye. That is actually kind of false, it seems like now. I had assumed that this was very much like the flu and that this was not about as risky, right? And I think a lot of us were comparing this to the flu. However, we've got some really interesting reports out of Hong Kong was one of them, where a person was infected and they were 10 floors above the person they believe they got infected from. And so what that means is this was an airborne virus that moved 10 floors. So, so many feet per floor, you can do the math. That is a long ways for this to go, and a scary long ways, right? So apparently they had made some changes to the plumbing in that building. And so perhaps that was more open piping and things like that. So not every building is going to conduct the virus that way. But then this one definitely seems to have. And so I would say that if you're in a crowded room with a lot of people that, perhaps some of them are infected, your chances of getting infected are much higher now than what I ever thought. So the recommendation that we've been receiving for the first month or so was, wash your hands, don't touch your face. That's not necessarily going to help you. So I would always recommend that you do that to keep good hygiene and stuff like that. However, that's not going to necessarily protect you against this virus. So, thanks, but I think we need to be a little bit more vigilant with that. So that's something to think about. The other big news, and this is very specific to us travelers, is that a lot of people have been infected while they're traveling. And that's really dangerous and really my nightmare that would happen when I'm traveling. I get infected, and everywhere you go now, they're reading your temperature. So they're going to know, oh, well, if you're showing symptoms anyway, that you're infected, and now you're stuck. Now you're in quarantine. And so we've seen this on a number of cruise ships. We've seen this I think there's 3 or 4 out there now where they're catching this, and the people are basically sheltering in place, and they're stuck on this cruise ship. And I guess there's worse places to be stuck if you're going to be stuck somewhere. But I don't think being parked in a harbor on a cruise ship is actually that much fun. Not as much fun as if you were actually drinking Mai Tais at the pool and it was going somewhere interesting. So that would, I don't think, be much fun at all. I don't understand why they don't bring all the people. Well, I do. They can't bring all the people off because they probably don't have anywhere to put them. The containment areas that they're setting up now in the US near the airports and some other countries, these quarantine centers, they're not going to be huge necessarily. To be able to scale up to this in North America is going to be a challenge if it does turn into what we see in China. They just don't have the capacity. So I think that's why they're keeping them on the cruise ship. But, and we also see a lot of cruise ships being advertising right now. I don't know why they would be doing that, but they are. And so I'm not signing up for a cruise ship right? Flights and airports. That's what most of us are doing. There was somebody on a flight that actually was joking around and said they had the coronavirus. They were removed from the plane. So this is taken very seriously by the people on the plane. It delayed the plane. I think they had to reroute it or land or something. I just saw a short video on it. Yeah, so increased vigilance as we, continue to travel. The world is not shutting down. I can't see that happening. I can't see us stopping all air traffic like we saw in 9/11 for a little while, especially around North America. That was even, a fairly short time period, but I don't see us doing that. I don't see that as a strategy for, the WHO and other organizations like that. They're not doing that. I don't think they will. I mean, we'll see it. If it gets a lot worse, anything's possible, I suppose. But I think that some people are going to get this. Some people are going to get sick. Some people are going to have complications. Some people are showing very minimal symptoms, while other people that are relatively healthy, it seems like, are turning into fatalities, which is really sad. So it's really hard to tell how bad this is going to be if you get it. I think really just trying not to get it as a traveler is the biggest thing, but some of us will, unfortunately. So so that's it for today. That's the news that I've got so far. I am planning to travel again next week within North America. You put them on and they feel pretty comfortable. It fits pretty good. I have pretty good dexterity and everything like that. I don't know how well I could use my phone, which is going to be the very first thing that I have a problem with, because I use my phone all the time when I'm traveling. However, I think that these are pretty good. The black looks kind of ninja, so I don't recommend black. Probably a skin color tone would get you less looks, but nevertheless, it works, right? So the idea is I'm wearing my glove, I touch yucky, and then I don't touch my face because I realize I have a glove on, and gloves are yucky. So that's going to kind of, like, even right now, I'm itchy right here. So of course I'm going to scratch it, but I got my glove on, right? So I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking, don't touch my face. And I think that's the main thing about wearing a glove. It's not so much that it's protecting my hand, although it is, but it's just reminding me not to do this, right? Well, I just did that, but you shouldn't do that. Okay. Yes, when I'm traveling, right? So I don't want to touch the plane stuff or the cruise ship or the car or the taxi and then stick it in my eye or my mouth or whatever, right? So gloves are good, and I think we're going to be wearing those more pretty soon. I think you could wear these for an hour or two, and then they start to get kind of sweaty and gross inside, and then you will want to take it off pretty soon. I guarantee you, when you do take it off, you're going to be like, whoa, yeah, it's like taking off ski boots, right? Like, that was fun for a while, but now that feels good. And if you want to see how to take these off properly, watch one of my other videos where I recorded it live, and you'll be able to see that. I'm doing a lot of live videos just because this is kind of happening so quickly and we're all traveling so much. I'm not doing highly polished videos. I'm just cranking these out so you can get the latest information. Okay, that's it. Again, if you like the video, please like. If you have any questions or comments, or you want me to show you something else, please let me know as well. I have a ton of different things to show you: product reviews, tips for traveling, how to set yourself up in a hotel, how to get the best deals. I'm going to put all that into videos as soon as I have time. I'm working on most of this either, in the evenings or when I'm in an airport. So I'm trying to crank these out as fast as I can for you. But if you've got ones you want to see first, let me know, and I'll do those first. All right. Safe travels. See you later.